I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing on proposed zoning ordinance text amendment, 6:30 p.m., March 26, 2024. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Daly,
Here.
Richmond, Present. Duberstein, George Duberstein.
Here.
Priest.
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein. Here. And Williams.
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Mary Cole.
We have quorum. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Before we move to the vote on this, I'd like to swap items H and G so that we have public comments before reviewing the criteria. And I think that needs a motion. So
Do we have another motion on the floor?
we have the motion on the floor to approve the agenda, but we have to alter the agenda.
So you have a motion within
I
a...
hope so. It'll work if you guys vote for it.
So moved.
No, we already have a motion and second. So we're voting on the alteration of the agenda, moving to H before G. Roll call.
Okay.
Commissioners Daly,
Aye.
Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein. Aye. And Williams.
Aye. Now we need to, I'll restate it, need a motion to approve the altered agenda. We'll do it that way.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioners Daly,
Aye.
Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein. Aye. And Williams.
Aye. All right, thank you for that. We now have an ordinance. There will be no motions on these particular ordinances until the regular board meeting, but we're open for discussion on number one, ordinance amending section 9.20.010 B and C of the village code regarding discharge of firearms and hunting. Any comments or questions from the board?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We're moving from 900 to 1,000 feet. Is a 100 additional feet going to really make that much difference?
The wording here isn't quite as clear as it should have been, but what that does is moves it to 1,000 feet with requiring homeowners or property owners written permission to shoot within that distance. That affects hunting more than anything else. Bless you.
So we're not talking about what the gun club...
It will affect the gun club. Because if at any time the board, whatever future board alters the next ordinance that's on the agenda, this will still move shooting sites farther away from, in this instance, Woodrow Village.
Yeah, well, but is 1,000 feet going to be enough? I mean...
It moves the likelihood of a spot, availability of a spot on that property pretty much out of range. Where they would prefer to build something, this 100-foot change makes it less likely that they could ever do it. And once again, it would need every property owner's signature with permission on, in this particular spot, of half of Madrona Village.
We're talking shotguns or?
Not talking, Kevin,
Okay.
and if you want to make a public comment,
Well, card
fill out the sheet, please.
I guess I need to take another look at the ordinance per se, but because the way, as you pointed out, the way it's written without written permission, it doesn't,
The ordinance itself calls for written property owner's permission. So my brief summary here was less than clear.
okay.
Everything's the same, I understand, except that it's from 900 to 1,000. And the rest of the ordinance stays the same.
Yes.
Mayor, what do you think prompted the gun club to want to move in this direction? Is there something behind it, or?
They want to expand the club to make it more of an international site. They want more members, they want to be bigger.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Just a small question, I don't know if it really is, that's important enough, but you use the word gun club when the technical term is sports club. Does that make any difference? As
I
far as-
believe in the ordinance, it's defined,
It says gun club and shooting range, it's pretty obvious.
It's just that
I'm
the
just trying.
proper name of that organization is sports club, not gun club, and I don't know whether that makes any difference.
Scott wrote it,
Okay,
so my answer to that would be no.
okay.
All right. Any other questions on the first ordinance? All right, on the second ordinance, an ordinance amending certain sections in Title 17 of the Village of Hainesville Code of Ordinances regarding zoning. This ordinance, well, any questions or comments on that?
This is clear up the discussion we just had about calling it a gun club versus a sports club, so they rename themselves.
Well, the whole thing is in the definitions where Scott put it at the beginning. The definitions is gun club means commercial facility containing one or more shooting ranges. So what they name, I don't think, what they name themselves is not what they're talking about.
Commercial if it's a private club.
They're not just doing one entity, you know, like saying, if somebody else moves in, all of a sudden, you know,
If it says Northwest Sports Club and they change the name, does that
yeah.
change it? Okay, any other?
Yeah. In this definition, when they're talking about gun club,
Wait, let me get to it, George.
Page four.
1704-120?
yeah.
Yes.
Down there it says rifles or slugs may not be used during the shooting activities. Are you saying that what they use for the clay shooting is not,
That's buckshot.
yeah?
Yeah,
So,
slugs, shotgun slugs are solid pieces.
yeah, so you're saying this might, if we had rifles or slugs, the distance that these things would fire would be a problem. And that's why we're eliminating it.
Well, that language is current language anyway.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, public comments. Kevin?
Okay, on your ordinance with this 900 to 1,000 feet, if you're using a shotgun, the average distance that a shotgun travels around the 12 gauge double wide buck.
It's a lot farther than that.
Pardon me?
It's a lot farther than 100 feet.
No, I understand that. But if you're at 900 feet already, I have not seen buckshot go more than 300-400 feet, and I'm a competitive shooter. So I don't know what we're trying to do with this ordinance here. I mean, we're gonna move it to 1,000 feet.
It's not the distance of the shot, it's the sound, if I'm not correct.
Correct.
Yeah, that was the
This
the
is-
problem, is the sound of the
Oh, I hear
shot.
them every day. I hear them every day right from my front
I know
yard.
you do.
So, I
The
mean,
gun club, Kevin, the gun club is interested in building a shooting berm facing east, approximately 700 feet away from the border of Madrona Village. Your house, like mine, is close to 1.1 miles away from the gun club, from the main shooting place. And you, as you just said, and everybody else here in town, can hear every shot fired. Imagine if it was 700 feet away.
I don't think we could even possibly think about it, but 1,000 feet, I mean, it's not gonna deaden the sound. I don't know unless we turn the whole
That's
entire
not-
range around and point it to the south. So,
It's that, the intent there is not so much to limit the sound, but in order to any gun club at any time to build something there in conjunction with the second one, it would have to have signatures of all the residents within that range.
Okay, so is that more of a Round Lake problem than a Hainesville problem? Or is it because
It's a
the
neighborhood.
Sportsman's Club is not a Hainesville problem?
Sportsman's Club is on Hainesville property.
Correct.
So, but this has to do with neighbors and living together too.
Understand?
Okay? Any other public comments on this topic? All right, we have criteria, which will be on your next page, that are required for approval of zoning changes. I'm going to read what Scott has recommended, what we have here. We will not vote on it, but if there are any comments from the board on it, please share, and I'll do it each of the four one at a time. Let's see. The summary note, ordinance amending the first section, change the minimum distance for discharging a weapon from impacted properties from 900 to 1,000 feet without written permission. The criteria, the Board of Trustees acting as the Planning and Zoning Commission find the amendments are necessary to clarify the limited areas of the village where the discharge of a firearm is allowed. They also clarify existing provisions so the code provisions are more easily understood. And this criteria is for both of the proposed ordinances. Any questions or comments on that language? Hearing none. Second criteria. The Board of Trustees acting as Planning and Zoning Commission find the amendments recognize existing land uses in the village while not authorizing them to be expanded to encroach upon residential and commercial areas. The amendments do not restrict existing and permitted use, but also do not permit them to be expanded. Comments or questions? Third criteria. The amendments will improve the public health, safety, and welfare by clarifying where weapons may be discharged, which also improves the use and enjoyment of residential and commercial properties and does not allow shooting closer to residential and commercial areas, which would reduce and negatively impact the use of properties and could create disturbances, undesirable noise, and reduce public safety. However, existing uses are permitted to remain. Comments or questions? And the final criteria, this criteria is not entirely applicable, but the amendments benefits existing residents and businesses while also allowing the existing areas where weapons are discharged to remain in their current locations. Questions or comments? Based on that, and this will be not a vote, but up to discussion, it appears that the board will recommend that in the regular, or that, excuse me, the Planning and Zoning Commission will recommend that action be taken on the regular agenda, including these, concerning these amendments. Motion, I need a motion for adjournment of the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. So,
Second.
roll call.
Commissioners Daly,
Aye.
Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
What was that?
At 6:45. We're good to go. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting for the Village of Hainesville, March 26, 2024, 6:45 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Jerry Daly.
Here.
Trustees Richmond. Present. George Duberstein.
Here.
Priest.
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein. Here. And Williams.
Here.
And trustee Cobal is absent.
Need a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond? Aye. George Duberstein?
Aye.
Priest?
Aye.
Georgiana Duberstein? Aye. And Williams?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Public comments, Barbara?
Thank you. It's tax season, so I'm looking at all of my tax breakdowns that I get from the Lake County. And this is.
Barbara, I'm sorry. You're soft-spoken
Oh, no.
individual. Now, it's going to be a question whether or not I can
There's
get
only
this
like
going.
3.
You're right here.
Should I just stand right? Okay, so I said, is it on?
It's on, it's on.
And you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have Verizon. We can hear you now.
Okay, so for the tax season, I always take a closer look at my line items, and I noticed that on my Lake County Assessor Collection notices that we are being, it's my understanding, we are being taxed in SSA number 1. That's approximately $60 annually, is that correct?
It is based on the, yes, you are being taxed, as SSA, you always have,
Yes.
and it's based on the value of your house.
Okay, so assessor values. That was another one of my questions. Now, is there more than one SSA in Hainesville?
No,
Okay, and the one SSA number 1 is for what?
it covers all of the it's for use on the conservancy, but it covers the people that pay the SSA tax are everybody this side of Hainesville Road, not including Old Hainesville.
Not including, I'm sorry,
Old Hainesville,
Old Hainesville.
hi,
Okay, over, yes, okay. So it's everybody including the townhomes on
Yes.
this side? So everybody on this side, on the west side pays the SSA one, okay. So now my question runs along with the general fund. Does everybody contribute to the general fund? Or do we have any conservation portions to the general fund or any other kinds of public works portions to the general fund? Does everybody contribute to that village-wide?
well, yes, based on real estate taxes. Specifically, we have revenue from property tax.
Okay.
And that is spread to which funds, Kelly?
So the property tax would go into our general fund as well as the police tax. So on a tax bill, you'll see like the general corporate and then the police. All that gets into our general fund, which the general fund helps support administration, street projects, and police contracts and things.
I think I can see another question is SSA money is not the only money that's used for Cranberry Lake and Conservancy projects.
Okay, so they're both different operating funds, but the Cranberry Lake improvements, maintenance, and so on is not the only thing that is used on Cranberry Lake for the
Correct.
SSA.
The SSA fund is $25,200, which is the minimum required. And that hasn't been raised in a long time.
Quite a few years.
But those funds, that 25.2, is restricted to use in the conservancy.
But we also share in the general fund when it comes
Yes.
to projects.
There's no way we could just fund what we do over there with the $25,000.
Okay, all right. That's great. So behind our house, and this has been an issue since Ted's administration. Seriously, we brought it up from time to time. Ted's and Linda's and now yours.
Thank you.
But you inherit a lot of things. But you and I have talked about this. On the one hand, I look at it as a great control for bicyclists and RVs that tend to go around the path. But we have like a total ditched out mud, like river going through the trail behind us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right. go ahead.
Okay, trail behind our house.
Mhm. It's a
And,
low point.
pardon?
It's a low point.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's, and I think we've mentioned it numerous times, we've tried to do something about it, and I'm torn myself because sometimes I think, well, at least it prohibits some kind of activities that are going on that I'm not in favor of anyway. But on the other hand, you know, it really, Jim and I watch all the time, people who are trying to walk their dogs, people who are trying to use it as a trail and, a walking path, and they absolutely have to go out into the weeds and into the other areas in order to get around that mudslide.
Three things possibly. When this was brought to me a long time ago, we looked at the idea of putting a drain underneath the path to facilitate the water just flowing out the Cranberry Lake. We can't do that because of covenants that exist with Army Corps of Engineer. I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4, looked at the possibility of building a bridge over that one and the one on the southeast corner. And we had a design, and we got a price, and we choked. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars, you might recall. And last year, Tim, did we not chip the path last year?
Correct.
No, we didn't.
Okay, so,
And I don't think it was the year before.
It was the year before. We skipped last year, and then this year we're planning to get a bunch of chips in there.
so it's ideally not a ditch, but some sort of drain underneath it would fix the problem.
I thought we had one, I thought Jeff put one in.
No,
I too
not
put
there,
a
not
culvert.
there.
Okay.
I know we attempted to put one in on the southeast corner. I don't recall if it is still in existence or not. So the best we can do, if we put, we're not even supposed to fill it in with dirt. So we'll just keep chipping it. And I understand it's a drawback, but I wish I had other options.
And in your, maybe in your planning or your attempts, when we do use chips along that way, and I think this is one of the reasons we even thought about doing a culvert, was because without a culvert, or without some area to get that deer path where it actually flows into the marsh, the water is retained on the resident side. So there really should be something on the trail that allows the water to flow through over to the marsh side. From, you know what I'm saying? Our homes, when it rains and pours, and if there's nothing to release the water underneath the mulching or the chips, it all stays on our side and we just end up getting a lake, a small little lake.
I assume that you still have a copy of the covenants?
I do, and believe me, totally what you've said is absolutely accurate. I totally understand the covenant. I just don't know of any, I mean, it's a marsh. I mean, I don't know how else. I agree, it's a problem.
If you can find some way around that in research or whatever, I will talk to the powers that be or people I know, see if there's anything we can legitimately do.
Why can't we go to the Corps of Engineers and ask for some dispensation?
That would be a step. So I will try to follow up with that.
That would be, I think, the only thing. I mean, if it is a matter of the covenant to make some kind of, the other thing is, there's been 4 homes, my home included, and then a neighbor to, Tony and the other 2 on the other side, who's a new owner, that were severely struck by the tornado. And I think the tornado the covenant makes some kinds of, how do I want to say, some leniency, for acts of God or something that, in other words, we lost all of our trees back there, which changed the topography completely. I mean, completely. I I had been maintaining wildflowers and all kinds of natural preserve in the easement, and I lost all of it and no longer have any of these plants because they're only plants that grew under a forested canopy. And now I have nothing but bright, burning sunlight in those areas, as do my neighbors. And so we're like really tormented by weeds, and they're just prolific. Last year, I took pictures of myself, and I'll show anybody who wants to see it. They're on my camera. Of me standing beside 6 and 7 foot tall. What am I thinking of? The ones. No, the purple.
Purple loosestrife.
No, thorns. They have thorns. I'm forgetting what they're called. I'm sorry.
Buckthorn? Thistle?
Thistle. And these thistles had multiple branches off one body, and I was trying to take those down. And I'm not kidding you. I was in a lot of pain taking those thistles out, and they're just taking over everything. And that's just one. We have multiple kinds of large weeds growing in there, and because we lost our canopy. And so because of that, what I want to say is the tornado did that to us. And so I think there is some kind of natural, when it comes to a natural disaster, the covenant may provide us an opportunity to do some amendments that we would be normally prohibited from doing.
I will, again, revisit the covenants. See if
Yes.
there's
That's my
anything anyway.
interpretation of it. I thought that there was some kind of, amendment that would have to be necessary after a natural disaster.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea, I had sunny natural flowers in my island, and as my crabapple tree has grown, I now had to replace it with all shade flowers. So you may consider, putting in some ones that will be for the summer, and at least that helps.
And that is where I'm moving to, because I work with Dave Eubanks in my back easement area, and we've been working together to try to alleviate, all of the invasive grasses and the thistle and the, Queen Anne's lace, and you name it, goes on and on and on. I know that Linda had sent around some letters at one time saying that we would be able to mulch that area, that a mulch was an option open to all of the tall oak group.
Are you talking about the last 15 feet of your property that's actually on your plat?
Yes.
But is owned or is part of the conservancy?
It's part of the conservancy, but it's not the preserve part.
Correct, I understand.
Okay, yes,
That
that's
was
what
at
I'm
one time,
talking.
wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm almost, Georgianne, I'm thinking about doing some mulching and then doing some planting of a natural habitat that will live in a full sunlight and not have it be thistles and other stuff.
I know that.
Concrete?
I know that I talked with Dave about doing more in the conservancy in general, because the things that were attempted didn't work out as we had hoped. So he's talked about doing berms and maybe doing seeding or doing something in the conservancies. I mean, we can't do anything with the ones that mow. I mean, we've just given up hope on them. But the other one, like the one next to me and Onward, that we would try and do something to enhance the conservancy.
I may put early thought, no commitment on this other than what I've said I will do. I may bring back Georgianne to maybe a ad hoc committee to look at possibilities, okay?
And I'd love to work with you again on that. The problem is with our controlled burns, Mayor, is that it does burn down any newborn, seedlings trees that are trying to attempt to come up. And then, of course, we're saving the ones that we actually did plant, but we're not saving any of the seedlings in a control burn. So, you know,
Darn
trying
if
to.
you do and darn if you don't.
Exactly, exactly.
All right, thank you, Mark.
Mayor, if I could just make a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate, Kelly, that you asked us for projects or things that we wanted to be able to do. I spoke to the Lake County Forest Preserve because I saw something on TV about a national park where they were having issues where they had a lot of trees, but they didn't have, it wasn't really a healthy ecosystem. So they looked at the soil, because the soil tells you a lot, to your point, of what's going on and that it's not going on. So the natural resource area, the Lake County Forest Preserve said they would walk a Cranberry Lake just to see, not promising anything, just to see what is going on, and then let us know what was going on if we wanted to. So that's something that she said she would do in April, so I could follow up with her on that. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Let's see, need a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond? Aye. George Duberstein?
Okay, yeah.
Didn't mean to wake you up, George.
No, I had a note here, but
Okay.
Reese?
Aye.
George Duberstein? Aye. And Williams?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're going to reports and discussion. We have a lengthy meeting ahead of us, so I ask those who are giving reports to keep it concise, brief if possible, but say what you need to say. Finance, I assume, will cover everything underneath. All right, so nothing there. Georgiana Great Age Club.
We keep having our meetings on the first Thursday of the month, and we're getting a few new people. This month, we have attorneys from Churchill, et cetera, law firm that's in Grace Lake on Center Street, coming to talk about estate planning, wills and trusts. So that should be an important thing, and I think we put it in the newsletter. Hopefully other people will come. On Swelco, before that, in April on the 20th is our village cleanup from 9 to 11, with the 21st being the rain day, and we always do that in connection with Earth Day, which is on Monday, so as close as we can get.
April 20th, was it?
The 20th of April, 9 to 11. Pizza to follow. Still in the budget. And we're having a compost event on the 11th of May, and there will be flyers that should be attached to the newsletters about how much you can take and what the hours are. I think we're starting from 10 to 2. It is. But it was very successful last time. People came and took compost for their gardens. The 11th of May. Yeah.
Do you have a date for the recycle plant? Sure you can.
September 20th.
I think we did. Yes,
Yeah.
the 20th of July.
I think we have some time to
I
advertise.
wasn't.
Okay.
All right, Civil War, George.
To keep things short, I'll say there's nothing to report on the Civil War. However, one comment about the emergency operation plan. Bottom line is, it's finished, it's in Lake County, awaiting their approval. And I was told it shouldn't be a problem because I've worked hand in glove with these people up there the last month or so. The only thing that's that we have to worry about is the guy who has to sign it just on vacation for a week or so, but as soon as he gets back, it'll be signed and we'll be done with this thing.
We've waited 3 years, we can wait till he gets back. All right, thank you, George, I know it's been a lot of work.
Yeah, so as long as they don't move the goalposts again.
Again, Christina?
Just real quick, something coming up, we've got food trucks getting ready to start back up. April the 11th is gonna be our first event for the Thursdays. And then just an update on our new businesses. The Boba Tea Shop is finishing up and should be opening very soon. The Boba Tea Shop in the, by Subway and Family
What beer was ours?
Yeah, so that should be opening
So we've gone from
soon.
beer to tea.
Okay, yes. And that's all I have.
All right, Mayor's report is in the packet, as well as the Public Works, and I don't think we have any ad hoc committees underway. All right, budget? You're on, Kelly.
I'm on. Well, good evening, everybody. I hope everyone had an opportunity to go through the budget paper. I didn't hear too much feedback on it. Like I said in an email, when I sent it out to everybody and placed it in the packets, I put in there that the process that we go through to obtain these figures. I send out request sheets to the parties. They all start at a $0 for a budget, and then they work off of that and go and see what the requests are. After they deliver them back to me mid-January, I go through and start entering them, kind of assess different things, reach back out with questions that I may have, see if any duplications or areas that we forgot about, and then we work internally on it. After I get a good product, I sit with Mary Koval, for her being finance chair, and the mayor, and the three of us go through it all and see where we're at. I am happy to report that this budget I feel really confident with. We're pretty good on, the projects over the last couple of years and have been helping, and now those are taming down. Yes, we got some more projects now, but we've been putting money into our reserves each and every year to plan for these projects. So with that, I'm going to start kind of like with the general fund. I'm not going to go page by page. Yes, Virginia?
I have questions on the general notes.
On the general notes. So as I go through it.
Whenever you're
Yeah.
ready.
Okay. So I kind of put together a summary page to cover it up. Just to give a snapshot of this point in time. We have the general fund, we have budget requests, we have a contingency, the total expenditures, our estimate of revenues to be in there, and then our differences. Within the general fund, that is made up with our administration, our streets, and our police. This is a large chunk of the budget. Overall, we are looking at approximately 2.2 in revenue, million, and then total budget expenditures is 2.8. So yes, we do have a shortfall, but when you go through the budget in here, you'll see those items to make up why are we having a shortfall of 624. It's normal to have a shortfall with these. You don't get all the revenue in 1 year to pay for all the projects happening. That's why we have savings accounts and capital funds and that. Some of the big items in there is doing the the village hall parking lot, the engineering costs on that, and then the construction portion of it. We had that in there last year's budget, we approved it, and then the budget that we're currently in this fiscal year, and we decided to hold off on it because of other projects we're going, and we wanted just to slow down on that. It was not ready, was not going to be ready this year. So within the general fund, we have those three areas. We're looking the next page of the general fund notes. In here, I do mention our contingency amounts. In the general admin, we have a contingency of $12,000, and the general street, we have a contingency of $30,000. So we put these as a line item in there to help with our fluctuations within the budget year. As you know, we can have this, we can look at this come May, we pass it in April, it starts May 1st. Come June, we'd be like, oh, now we got this to do. Well, this is why we have contingencies built in. Contingencies are based on about 5% of the expense totals of the known expenses, unknown and foreseen. The ones that we know of that should be a contract that's $10,000 and it's not going to go over, I I don't put a contingency on that because that's our dollar amount. I look at the ones that could fluctuate, like with the streets, a piece of equipment broke down that we don't have in there. The next note in here, I do mention that when you just take our current year revenues and the proposed expenditures, that we have a deficit of $624,000. Within that deficit, it does include, we are doing our yearly transfer of cell tower revenues. We usually take half of our cell tower revenues and put it into our general capital for future projects. That should amount to $38,000 this year. Note number 3, I'm putting in.
So even though we only have 2 cell towers, we're putting 38,000 away.
Yes.
So, how do we deal with the $624,000 deficit?
Let me continue on this and I can answer that for you. Okay? Note number 3, the estimation of our general capital reserve balance, so our big savings in general, at the end of this current year, April 30th, I'm estimating about $600,000 in there. We also, for note number 4, in our Illinois Funds money market, we earn some good interest on there. That is estimated to be about $1.5 million at the end of this year, fiscal year 4/30. We do have a village CD still, one invested for $150,000. So with those 3 reserves, basically, $600,000 for the general capital, our money market for 1.5, and the CD, between all 3 of those items, Mary Colville, the mayor, and I feel that whatever shortfall, the $624,000, can be adequately taken care of through those savings.
That's $2.2 million.
Okay.
In the past fiscal years, when we look at this snapshot of where our shortfall could be, we have not reached those could be's. You know, we're like, okay, well, are we sure we're gonna take it out of this bucket to pay for this? And yes, we end up agreeing with it, but then during that year, it's like, we don't need as much because that project isn't costing us as much, or we're not doing that. So if we spend everything that's in this budget for the general fund, we still have enough money in our reserves to cover the $624,000.
Go ahead, Julia.
Do you have any idea what the interest rate is on that CD?
So right now, the CD is coming due beginning of April. Our money markets, I've been periodically looking at our money market that we have here, and those rates are pretty comparable. I want to say they're around 5%, both for the CD and the money market.
So the 1.5 is in a money market?
Yes, we are earning.
So you're earning interest?
Yes,
on it?
yes,
Okay.
and the market has been very well.
You're thinking back to when we laddered on your suggestion the number of CDs.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we were
We've-
getting interest.
Yes, we've always
Yeah.
had this money market and always earning interest, but with how the market has been going these last 2 years, we have really benefited on the interest that we're earning on
Okay.
here.
How liquid is that money market?
Very liquid. We get state funds deposited every month into it. Our state revenues go into it. And if I need to transfer, which I'll do almost a monthly transfer, because most of our revenues go into this account to earn the money.
Consider
And I'll take
consider
it out
it
and pay
water.
our bills.
It's like a savings account,
Yes.
except you're limited to the number of withdrawals.
Well,
savings.
So in other words, we're in a position where we can attack some of these funds we have. If we have a shortfall, we have to make up.
Just because we're talking about that, the Federal Reserve is saying that there'll probably be 3 rate cuts, not as soon as they thought, but in the future. So that'll impact the interest rate we may get in the future.
Like, what I'm very conservative, as the mayor can tell you. When I produce our estimate of revenues and I look at our interest and I go through what we've been through the last year or 2, even though it's like last month we could have earned this, I'm not taking that total and going out for the next 12 months. I take that, look at it, go, well, let's go lower, because I don't want to overestimate our revenues and then come on the other end going, we're really short on these.
We much rather, and Kelly's beaten this into me over all these years. We much rather have excess than shortfalls.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, Kelly, continue, please.
Okay, so within the general fund portion only, those accounts in these notes, before I move on to our enterprise fund, does anyone have any specific questions within that general fund area?
If you end up having line-by-line questions on particular issues, we'll wait until she's gone through all the funds, and then we'll address your individual issue.
Okay. So the next section, we call it the enterprise fund. It's the water fund. All the revenues that we bring in for the water bills, they get pulled into here so we can pay out the operating of our water system. The water tower repainting, the well house infrastructure, lift station infrastructure, sewer lines, storm sewers, stuff like that, all come out of this enterprise fund. Sanitation is listed within here too because our utility bills has the garbage charge on there too. So we're looking at the budgeted request for this to be about 1.3 million and our total revenue about 1.2. Not too far off, a little bit, 112,000 shortfall, which is not much at all with all the projects that we anticipate to do within here. The next page with our notes says enterprise fund notes. Item number 1, in the expenditures, we do have that contingency. I have that one as 30,000. Being our water fund, it's 9 I made it up to be 9%. Instead of the standard 5%, because you just don't know what can happen on a given day. The item number 2, the enterprise fund requests, do have a deficit of the 112,000, but we also have a yearly transfer of $203,900 coming out of our revenue of water fund, going into our water sewer capital reserve, our savings, for more future infrastructure. And those are based on, over the past couple of years, 2013, 2018, and 2022, the increases on the utility tax bill, utility bill.
So it does not include on the second line of number 2.
It does include. So if we did not transfer the 203,000 and kept that into our full revenues, we have a surplus of roughly 108,000. So right now, we do have that transfer going over, taking it out of the revenues for water, going to our capital reserve for water. So we do have that listed as an expense. If we got rid of not moving it over, that would still be more revenue that we could use.
So we have 203 and the deficit is 112.
The deficit is 112,000.
And the 203 covers it.
No, the 203 is just showing you that we're still making a yearly transfer of those items each year to build our capital, water sewer capital, to take care of infrastructure.
So we put it into reserve, but then explain how we're covering the 112.
So the estimation of our capital reserve fund to take care of a lot of the infrastructure, replacement of equipment, at the end of this fiscal year 430, I'm estimating it to be about 1.1 million.
So we always transfer something into savings, but sometimes we have to take some out of savings to meet our budget. But we established the process, the protocol of always looking to transfer an amount in the savings.
So I'm just a little, so you're transferring in the 203?
Transferring in the 203 to get into our capital fund for future
Into the savings account.
savings.
And at some point we'll use it to cover the deficit during the year?
Yes,
Okay, just wasn't
I know.
clear how that was happening.
I'll explain the bucket theory sometime.
And I'll explain the holes in his bucket. So, but again, in our water sewer capital reserve account, I'm estimating that we'll have 1.1 million at at the end of this. Some of the projects that we anticipated to perform in this current fiscal year weren't being performed, so that's why it's still a little higher, but some of them are back in here as well. My note number 4 just basically reiterates that we do have enough to cover the requested projects listed on the line items. And then we also I put a note on here to carry over year to year because I keep forgetting where this note is, so this is on here. The village board discussed this back in a meeting back in '23 to figure out what the minimum balance for the water sewer capital reserve fund should be, and it should be no less than $300,000. So
And since we have 1.1 million,
we're still
safe
good.
there. In many ways, it's a tribute to the board and the boards before that we've set this money, been able to establish these 2 reserve funds so we can fund projects. And if there is ever a major debacle, water lines, sewer lines collapse, things were really haywire, we have the money to repair it, replace it, or tackle bigger projects. All right, Kelly?
Okay, the next page of notes, the first section is SSA fund notes. Our request will have a deficit of about $37,150. Estimation of the SSA balance at the end of this fiscal year will be about $50,000. So this way, with our requests that we have coming, the revenues coming from the tax levy, and our bank balance of the $50,000, we'll have enough to cover that shortfall within the SSA funds. I took a couple of projects out of that and put it into the general to have the general fund take care of that.
For example, the stairs that we talked about building down on the other end of the entrance to the primary lake, we took that out of SSA funds because we didn't want to have that big of a deficit there. But we still want, the project's still going to go, it'll just be funded from a different
Is
account.
it stairs from the cul-de-sac?
From the
Stairs?
cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about any stairs from the townhouse.
No,
Okay.
The next section of that page notes is the MFT funds. Our request has a deficit of $93,786, but our bank balance for MFT at the end of this fiscal year is projected to be $343,000. Again, MFT is restricted just to use on road programs, resurfacing, engineering fees, crack sealing. Cannot use pavement rejuvenator on this, so that cost comes out of our general fund. But with the road program that we're looking at doing and our bank balance, we have plenty of funds to carry over and cover that. And the goal with MFT is to do a big project this coming fiscal year. There's a plan in the budget to have our engineers review the streets and that to come up with another 5-6 year plan. Probably not do any resurfacing the following fiscal year and then get going again and have a larger project when we get going again. So it saves the village more money.
brief explanation of that is we have traditionally, last 10 or 12 years, done $250,000 in road repair every summer. Our new engineers recommended, asked, have you ever thought about doing road repairs every 2 years, but doing $500,000 because a project that big will draw better prices? So that's the approach. We won't be doing major road repair. If there's holes or whatever, we'll repair them, but we won't be doing major resurfacing next, not this summer, the following summer. And every year after that, it'll be every 2 years, bigger project, better prices.
I really like this engineering.
Kelly, just a question about the motor fuel tax. Are we envisioning any changes in how much we will be getting from that with the increase in hybrid EVs, or
As of right
we just
now,
don't know yet?
yeah, in our Illinois Municipal League,
Microphone, please.
in our Illinois Municipal League magazines that we get monthly, periodically, like in January and February is when they really go into the state revenues that municipalities get the share of. I review that and I see what their trend is, and they give us the forecast of how much dollar per capita to budget for it. So looking at this year compared to last year, I think we're budgeting right about the same, so there's not too much of a growth. Hoping it doesn't go down too much, but they alter those forecasts periodically through the year too, so going through those, additional note pages for each of the funds in the spreadsheet, did anyone have any line item questions to go through before I go to my next portion of this?
Just a general question. Of all the wish lists that got put in, were most of them filled?
We didn't,
No, I think we did cut a little bit.
minor things.
Minor, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Tim's smiling. for public works.
Okay,
Any line item questions?
okay. From the time that this budget was prepared till yesterday, there's been just minor changes. And I gave this to you for 2 minutes, okay. Because the proposal came in a little bit better. For instance, we had our generators at the Village Hall, the Public Works Building, the well houses, maintenance routine was only performed once a year.
Yes.
And our engineers said it would be better to have it twice a year. So that cost went up.
So essentially what you're looking at are additions to the package you have, a few particular items that will be in black and white in the April meeting for approval.
And there was only one other new equipment listed on here, a utility locator tool for $6,000. So the original request, there wasn't anything, now there is. When you take the updates, the tweakings, the overall increase in requests came out to only $3,625. So I'm going to implement that into our next budget.
Is that clear?
So, Mayor, question, just because we're talking about the enterprise, now I know what the enterprise fund is, that's
Water. Yeah.
Does that also cover, I would imagine, the wells, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How-
So any maintenance with the wells, and over the last couple of years, they've been doing infrastructure, redoing in-house and contracting out
Repairs,
the pumps.
the lift stations,
The lift stations.
the wells.
They should be gold plated by now.
So we're good, no, we repaired what we needed to repair.
It's all still a work in progress.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah, it's always ongoing. But I mean, like a lot of the major projects that we've planned that we contract out, those have been completed. Like we updated our heaters and dehumidifiers so the inside stay better condition. But Public Works still has a few things that we're doing over there.
One of the bigger things that we've done in the well houses is that all the piping, floors, and walls will be recoated, and that's something we'll contract out because it's a special application of material.
Why does this, all these inspections cost? I mean, I know we didn't spend the money for this item on page.
Are you looking at the generator portion?
Yeah.
So it's not just an inspection with the generator, they'll also do their routine maintenance, oil change. Tim probably can answer this better.
It's biannual or semi-annual service calls.
Preventative
And
maintenance.
one of the service calls also is a load check, which they'll start the generator on and check its, Wally, explain it for me, please.
Generators are rated, like 100 kilowatts, okay? So what they'll do is they'll load it down for a certain amount of time. How they usually do a 2-hour, I think, is the cheaper one, which would be a 2-hour load test, which they would step up to make sure that generator is outputting what it says it's supposed to be outputting. And our generators that we have in the well houses are like 20 years old or better, okay? I was kind of thinking that in well 3 that it needed to be replaced already, but according to the engineering firm, this is wait till it goes, I guess. So we did the load test last year and it performed what it should be, okay? And they said, so right now, with 2 inspections, one thing about generators, you know, and when I was at work, okay, is that when you need them, they usually don't come up easily, okay? There's usually something minor that you have to do. But the thing is, with 2 inspections, they go through it. Heaters are notoriously known to go out on these things, you know, and you don't know it until you do the inspections and stuff like that. So now if you're gonna do that twice a year, you make sure, because the heaters are needed for the wintertime, okay? And so you wanna make sure that these generators are gonna perform when they need to be. Even though you don't use them, you know, unless you lose power. But we want that, especially the generators at the well house. The well house is the work.
So maybe my,
There are heaters in there because of,
It's a heater in the block, it's a diesel engine,
so
okay?
it has to heat the fuel or keep the block.
Keep the block warm like a semi. You know, basically the semis have to be plugged in most of the time, you're not running all the time, to keep them so they will start.
And one of the things Gaywalt is going to do in this service check is test the generators to see if, in fact, because of their age, they may need replacement somewhere along the line, so we can budget for it down the road if need be.
one thing that caused my concern about the price was maybe I misread the way you have this outlined on the sheet of paper. For example, on page 17, this is the little summary page.
Okay.
Budget changes to be made. On page 17, where it says engineering services, and then it says generator inspections. Because there's not an "and" in there, I assume, maybe incorrectly, that generator inspections were explaining what the engineering services were, rather than engineering services in addition to generator inspections.
Okay.
And if the second comment is correct, then it makes more sense why you have that line on it.
So for that line, page 17, at the time of doing the budget draft, we thought Gaywalt, they gave us a figure of $5,000 for their service cost to go and assess these generators at that time and do some work behind the scenes. From that budget draft till now, they don't need to do that part anymore. They've already did it, and they just gave us a very rough figure of 5,000. So original budget requested 5,000. Updated is going to be 0 because they were already taken.
My question is,
So that was just for them to go assess these and, like Jerry said, look at it, test it, see maybe something else that needs to be done. But then they also came up with the recommendations, don't have the once a year preventative maintenance on all 4 of these generators. Let's do it twice a year.
Remember, George, a budget is a guideline.
no, I understand all that.
Okay.
I don't mean to belabor the point, it's probably not worth the trouble, but my only question was, when it says engineering services, and then below it it says generator inspections, is it engineering services and generator inspections? Or is it?
Originally, it was meant as an "and."
Okay.
Now, the 5,000 is a no.
Correct.
No, but if it's an "and," it makes,
Well,
why you have that, it makes sense.
Okay.
Without the "and," it doesn't make any sense.
we have multiple engineering tasks to be completed. So when you look at the line item, you might see under engineering services, generator inspections, 5,000. Road work, 3,000. I'm just using these. This is to help us understand what project they're going to be doing for us that we're budgeting for. So them as engineers, we're going to get the task to go look at our generators and come up with a game plan of recommendations what we should shoot to.
Okay. Any other line item questions? This is the time to discuss it.
So, I just want to touch on that. So that 5,000 was taken out of budget.
Yeah.
Because the work was already performed.
Right. And it was not 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, so the next phase of this budget draft is tomorrow I'll have the
Hang
appropriation.
on just a sec. I just want to make sure.
Okay,
No other line item questions. Going.
okay. So the appropriation ordinance process of this now is I'll have it displayed out for the public to see. We'll have a public hearing at the April date meeting. It'll be at 6:30, and then we'll be able to approve these documents later on. And the next couple of items under business, you'll see how the document format is that you'll be seeing and approving for the next meeting.
Okay, so there's no vote needed on that. Draft estimate of revenue.
So that is exactly, this is going to be a document that you'll be approving at the next board meeting, and that's what it is. It's an estimate of revenue. It's listed out of all different categories of revenue with the total. When you have it on one page like this, it's going to be mixed between the general fund, MFT, SSAs, every type of revenue that we anticipate to receive, which is all in your specific there. So this
That's
is
the
just an
legal
overview.
document that we have to, that explains everything that you got on your blue sheets or line item sheets. Appropriation ordinance.
That's what I was
That's
just
what
talking
you just
about
went
earlier.
through?
Again,
Okay.
I will have this out there and get the public hearing scheduled and notice in the paper for it.
All righty. Anything else, Kelly?
The other item is just the budget format. Again, just a different format. This is everything from what we just discussed.
Or requirement? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You and Mary and the mayor have done a lot of work on
Now,
this.
Kelly,
For it.
Kelly is the one that puts it all together and keeps us on the straight and narrow. It's a lot of work. She does a good job.
Thank you very much.
And on that note, you two can go home. Okay.
I can get 5 more minutes of the meeting.
It's an important meeting. All right, I need a motion for an ordinance amending section 9.20.010B and C of the village code regarding discharge of firearms and hunting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 24-3-356.
Need a motion for an ordinance amending certain sections of Title 17 of the Village of Hainesville's Code of Ordinance regarding zoning.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 24-3-357.
Need a motion for an ordinance authorizing the disposal of personal property no longer necessary or useful to the village. In this particular situation, it's a phone system. We just replaced all the physical components of it.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question.
Discussion? Yes, sir.
Is there any particular reason why we need 2 separate ordinances to dispose of equipment instead of just one and listing both items in the same ordinance?
I don't believe so. I think it's just a matter of when I threw it towards Kelly to put on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay? All right, roll call, please.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 24-3-358.
Got that there? Need a motion for an ordinance repealing chapter 5.56 of the village code governing solicitation in the village of Hainesville.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I think we should put something in the newsletter because I know I usually would shoo them away saying, if you don't have a permit, you can't be here. But now they don't need a permit, so I think people need to know that.
Yeah.
It's kind of open season, and so it's buyer beware, because these guys are gonna descend on our village like locusts.
It isn't, this is agreed. This isn't done just because I thought.
No, I understand.
We just can't enforce what we have. Nobody can enforce it. So I did look into purchasing, no solicitors allowed stickers. We can give them away to the residents. 6 stickers were, what did I say, $7.69 on Amazon. So I don't think I'm going to fund that for the village, but yeah, I can put something in the newsletter, or Christina can, indicating this. I wish we could, we can't.
And they can get their own no soliciting.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could ban it or control it as we had in the past, we just can't do that anymore. All right, any other further comments or questions?
Just be careful, people have to be careful.
Roll call, please.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 24-3-359.
Need a motion for an ordinance authorizing disposal of personal property no longer necessary or useful to the village.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? For those of you who don't know what this is, for those who've been around long enough, it's a projector we used to put out here to shine on that screen, drop-down screen for all our presentations. That's why we have the TV. Roll call, please.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 24-3-360.
Just a question, do we get any funds for getting rid of this property, and if we do, what happens?
The phone system we donated back to the company that, I think it was a buyout, and they distribute it, or they don't resell it, they donate it to places that need it. For the projector, we still have it sitting in Kelly's office. We could possibly try to sell it, but it certainly is outdated. All right. We've already done that. Need a motion for approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Hainesville and Avon Township regarding the storage of rock salt.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams. Aye.
Now I have a question, are we storing it over at Avon, or was it a question at some point whether they would be willing to do that, or we still?
No, we're still storing it over there.
Okay.
We created an agreement a couple of years ago, and it expired, and this is renewal, and it now has an automatic renewal on an annual basis.
Because I remember there was a move on something.
At one point. I need a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. George Duberstein.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
If you so choose, there will be action one way or the other after executive session, pretty much. And so we're at 7:45, go into executive session. Does anybody need a 5-minute break? Yeah, turn it off.